Hey, what's up everybody, this is Muth24, and today I'm going to take a look at the Play Arts Kai figure of Solidus Snake from Metal Gear Solid 2, Sons of Liberty. This was part of their 25th anniversary celebration of Metal Gear, and they had a few other figures that came out around this time. They had MGS2 Raiden, and they had an MGS1 Solid Snake, as well as Gray Fox. It all kind of came out within the same year and a half span as part of this whole celebration thing. This is the first Play Arts Kai figure I've ever purchased, and I'd be interested in getting more after checking this guy out. I knew that they were quite a bit bigger than most figures are, and I guess I didn't realize quite how much bigger, and I'll get into that in a little bit. But he is a pretty sizable figure. He's got some weight to him, too, and that's more because of the way he has to be weighted to work with all of his accessories, again, which I'll get to in a little bit. But the reason he's already out of the box is because the box for this thing, while it looks really cool, it's not the best built. Part of that was because of the way I think it was handled in shipping and transit there, that it kind of fell apart by the time it got here. But the other part of it's just that it's a thick enough cardboard and big enough figures that I think they should probably like staple the edges together, and instead it's just that really sticky tack sort of cheap glue they put on the inside. So it's like either they should staple it or they should use a little bit longer pieces of cardboard at the end to attach it if they want these boxes to stay intact. I'm not heartbroken or anything. I wasn't really planning to like hold on to this box just because of how big it is. My JoJo's figures boxes I tend to hold on to because they're relatively small and easy to store. This one I think I'll end up just recycling. But at any rate, the front here, you got the Play Arts Kai logo, Metal Gear Solid 2 logo. There's a very nice like blue background there that kind of keeps with the whole color theme of MGS2. Because in the opening sequence and all throughout the game, blue is a pretty prominent color, as well as like the gray and all these industrial sort of colors. Looking along the side here, you can see there's the MGS2 Play Arts Kai logo again, and you can see basically all the way through from either side of the box. This side has a little shot of Solidus' face, and then the back has Solidus sort of reenacting some sequences from the game there in the hexagonal patterns, much like the intro of MGS2, and there's a nice big shot of him as the figure there with everything attached. And the top and the bottom are pretty much just vanilla bland. There's not much in the way of an instruction booklet. It's really just like one sheet here. Kind of shows you everything and how to attach them and all that. So nothing too complicated there. Taking a look at the actual figure, though, he has a very nice sort of gunmetal color all throughout. Much darker, sort of shiny metal than a lot of armored figures tend to have, and I really like it. I think it does well to recreate the look he has in the game. There's a lot of nice details on the face as well. I don't know how well you can see them on the camera there, but there's some nice wrinkles. He's got like, you know, dirtied up and sweaty sort of look to him. The hair is handled very well too. There's a little bit of a seam here along the top of the head, but it's nothing too terribly upsetting or anything. The eye patch looks great. There's some great textures also along the inside of the armor here. Sort of this mesh-looking material in the orange there. Got nice little text on the armor. Caution labels, that sort of thing. Along the knee pads. Got some nice color differentiation there on the hip and the thigh armor. Just great, like, molding and paint job overall on this guy. You can also see some of the nice shading they did on the inner thighs there, where it's like more of a rubbery looking material there. Even though it's all, you know, hard plastic, it's got very different looks to all the surfaces on this guy, which is great. I think they did a really good job in capturing the essence of the character from the game. Not just in the armor, but the way that, you know, his expression is conveyed there. The one thing I really would have liked that they didn't do with this figure, and it looks like they kind of accommodated for the fact that his head will be possibly bumping up against it. In the game, this little faceplate piece here on the front of the neck will retract, and I kind of wish they had given you a way to remove it easily. It doesn't look like, at least as far as I can tell, that you can actually remove it, and I didn't want to, you know, try and force it out and break it off. It is made of a softer plastic than the rest of it, and I think that's just because, you know, you can bob his head into it, and they don't want it to break off that way. But yeah, it's just one little gripe that I have with this figure that I wish they had done to sort of capture like everything from the game that you could do with it. Because everything else that comes with the figure, you can pretty much do anything he has in the game. But anyways, in terms of posability, we have a nice rotation back and forth with the head. Can't go 360. Part of that's because of the way the collar comes up. Part of that's because of how long his hair and his beard are there. But you can get him to go, you know, chicken bob back and forth. And you can put his face down there, so it's kind of like hidden behind the face mask a little bit. It doesn't go down all the way, but it still looks halfway decent, I think. As far as the arms, they can rotate 360 at the shoulder. You can get them to kind of go back and forth with a little joint here. You can get the arms to only go up and out a little ways underneath the shoulder, simply because of how big the shoulder armor there is and how restrictive it is, but you can rotate 360 underneath. You can get the elbows to bend up at about you know, that far there. The elbows can rotate a little bit there too. The wrists will go back and forth, no problem, and can rotate 360 as well, because it's basically just a peg joint at the wrist there, which I'll show in a minute more when I swap out the different hands. His torso can go back and forth, no problem. It looks like it's more restricted than it actually is because of the way the armor is sculpted, but you can get quite a bit of movement out of that back and forth. Side to side's not too bad, a little less free roaming there, but can get his legs to go out about that far. But when you have one leg out, it moves the waist armor a little bit, so it kind of restricts the other leg. Get the knees to go almost 180, not quite. You can get some, you know, rotation back and forth at the hip there as well. The ankles can go back, not so much forward, but this little guard piece here does move with it, which is pretty nice. And you can get a little bit of wiggle back and forth. I really like the sort of snapping sound that goes with everything that moves there, because on a bigger figure like this, you're really going to want that to, you know, sort of lock it into place there. So in terms of his accessories, his optional hands that he has two of them on right now, but I'll pull up the rest here. And the ones that he has on at the moment are one of the closed fist hands and one of the open fist hands. And the open fist hand is used for his katanas, and then he also has open trigger hands, which are used for his rifles. And you get two of each, which is pretty cool. So there's the open fist hand over there. The open fist hand is there, the closed fist hand is there. I've got one of the trigger hands already in the rifle, so to swap them out, all you got to do is pull at the wrist there, and you can see there's sort of a peg like you would have with the JoJo's figures or the Figmas, except for it's a lot bigger, so you don't have to worry as much about you know, how careful you are putting the hand into the peg there if you're afraid of breaking it or something. And he holds, you know, the rifle just fine. There's not that much weight to it. As far as the katanas go, they both come on this sort of double sheath setup, and you can pop either one of them out of there. There's a little peg here that connects to his hip, and I'll be honest, it's not the most secure connection. You can shake him around and it won't fall out or anything, but it's one really simple peg, so it's not going to hold in there if you monkey around with it too much. Just sitting on the shelf, it'll be fine, but it's like if you bump it or anything, there's a good chance that it might pop out of the socket there. But he does look pretty cool with the katanas, whether you have just, you know, one in the hand or two. The only other thing that I've found is a little bit of annoyance with that katana sheath is you can't really adjust it side to side. It just kind of sticks back there. So if he's up against the wall, you're going to kind of have to have him on an angle, which is fine. You can get some dynamic poses that way and everything, but if you're hoping to have him like back against the wall flush like that. You can't do it with the sheaths on his hip there. But the other hands, just sort of give a quick rundown of that. There's the other closed fist hand. There's the other open fist hand. You have a lot of nice details on those as well. And then here's the other rifle hand. And there's actually one more closed fist hand that I have in here for some reason or other. I don't know why I have a... Oh, this is the one I took off. Duh. Okay, I'm dumb. I kind of forgot where I was at with this figure. Anyways, then sort of the big winner for me, the thing that I've always loved about Solidus' design is later in the game he gets this extra backpack piece that you actually attach by swapping out the chest piece, which is the giant Dr. Octopus tentacle robot arms. And to put them on, all you're going to have to do is take this whole chest piece here out, which shows a little connecting slot there. And you kind of want to make the arms go up and over his shoulders. And it's relatively easy to slide in once you've got everything, in place there. But now with this added bulk, he looks a lot more intimidating, and I think just interesting overall. There are joints along this this backpack's arms. Yep, sheath just fell off. That's kind of what I was talking about before, is if you move the figure a little too much, he'll drop those. But anyways, you can get them to kind of go up and down a little bit here. You can get them to rotate somewhat as well. But basically each of these are simple ball joints with hinges in the middle. Some of them are more stiff than others, and you can't get nearly as much motion out of them. The fingers are all static. You can't do anything with those. They're molded in that shape, and it's a softer plastic. But they did a nice job of at least having one of the arms be this sort of straight up, relaxed pose, and the other one being sort of a grabbing, more action style pose there. So it's appreciated that they went ahead and did at least something different with each of the arms, since you can't move the fingers. At the same time, I'm not upset that you can't move the fingers, because I'm afraid that them being as small as they are, it'd just be another thing that I'd have to worry about possibly, popping out of place or breaking if it was a harder plastic. But on the whole, I'm really impressed with this figure. I don't know that I'm going to collect a lot of PlayArts Kai figures, just because they tend to be more expensive by quite a bit than the JoJo's figures that I've got, or the one Figma Samus that I've collected. But it's really a nice figure for the extra amount that you're paying. It's really big. Like I said, it's kind of heavy too. So I kind of just set it by itself on a shelf. I don't put anything else with it, but I wouldn't mind getting some more Metal Gear Solid ones. There's also the Bayonetta one, which was pretty cool, that I wouldn't mind seeing if I can't find somewhere down the road. But it's one of those things where it's like, it's really cool to have this one figure, because he's one of my favorite video game villains of all time, let alone one of my favorite Metal Gear Solid characters. So I knew if I was going to get a PlayArts Kai Metal Gear Solid figure, Solidus was going to be the first one I was going to get, no questions asked. From what I've seen of the other ones, I really like the MGS1 Solid Snake, but I know he's super hard to find now. Same thing goes for Gray Fox. He's a little bit easier to find, but they're both pretty expensive. MGS2 Raiden's interesting enough, but compared to the the Metal Gear Rising Raiden, he kind of takes the cake, I think, in terms of just all the accessories and just the general look of him. So I'd say of the ones that there's a potential of me getting down the road, probably be MGS Raiden, either MGS2 version or the Rising version. Kind of leaning more towards the Rising version. There are a couple Peace Walker Snake variants that I like as well, but I don't know. I'm kind of leaning more toward the Raiden right now if I get another one. But that's a whole other thing for another day. Size comparison here real quick with my Figma Samus. Even though she's up on her stand, she's pretty tiny compared to Solidus. He's got quite a bit of a height advantage there. And even though they are on their stands as well, Dio in the World, still pretty tiny compared to Solidus. He's a big boy, and he's going to look really impressive on your shelf next to any other figures or your Gundams or or whatever you have on there. His presence will be known. So that's pretty much it for this review, and with that, I will see you guys next time.